And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Saturday's flying weather graphic for the morning. We've got an area of IFR here just north of the Alaska Peninsula and the Aleutians over the southern Bering Sea on up to about the Pribilof Islands, becoming marginal VFR with VFR here over the northern Bering Sea on up into the northwest coast, much of the interior. Starting out VFR, some IFR central eastern Arctic coast in that area, but improving as you just move a few miles inland over the north slope, and areas of marginal VFR around the Alaska Range into the Talkeetnas on down across the Copper River Basin, North Gulf Coast, Panhandle, some IFR on the east side of Kodiak Island. For the afternoon, pretty much no change here for the Kodiak Island area, Bristol Bay, northward into the interior, over toward the border, all VFR. Breaking out here to mostly VFR for the Alaska Range, but the Talkeetna Mountains and Madanuska Valley forecast to be marginal through the day, as well as Prince William Sound, IFR over around Yakutat, and southern Montague Island could be in the IFR zone. Improving over the Panhandle here, you can see some pretty good VFR over the central and southern areas. Out to the west, lots of IFR for the Bering Sea and the Aleutians, and some lower conditions now on up into the St. Lawrence Island area through the Bering Strait and the Chukchi Sea, but that IFR burning off the Arctic coast. And for Sunday morning, marginal VFR right along or just off the coast up there, so good VFR for the North Slope all the way down into southern Alaska, and then a return to that marginal VFR pattern for the western Alaska Range, coming back into the Talkeetnas, on down into Prince William Sound and over the Wrangell Mountains. IFR now, southern Kodiak Island with marginal VFR up in toward Kamishak Bay and Resurrection Bay. IFR here out over the central Bering Sea to Adak and Atka, just west of Nikolsky. A little bit more IFR toward Shimei and Attu. Southeast coast, marginal. For the afternoon Sunday, batch of IFR shows up here off the southeast coast as the inland areas there improve to VFR, except down south, marginal VFR, some IFR in that area. IFR here for the North Gulf Coast into Prince William Sound, covering Montague Island to near or south of Resurrection Bay. Marginal VFR into Cook Inlet. Otherwise, good VFR for the interior all the way up into the Arctic coast and actually out to the Arctic Ocean. And VFR for the Seward Peninsula, Northwest Coast, Yukon Delta, some marginal VFR for the Kuskokwim Delta, and marginal VFR with IFR, again covering the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. So moving on to the passes up to the Brooks Range tomorrow, looking really good. VFR for both Anatuvik and Adigan. All the Alaska Range will be seeing marginal VFR possible in the morning, improving through the day to VFR flying. Lake Clark, Merrill, rainy, windy, same pattern, starting out marginal, becoming VFR. Isabel, same thing, as well as Mentasta. Lowest conditions in the morning hours, better in the afternoon throughout the day. Tanita staying rather marginal throughout the day. And Portage, marginal VFR expected all day long. Same thing for Chilkoot and White. Looking at the freezing levels here, 6,000 feet right over Yakutat, otherwise 8 to 10,000 feet over the southern southeast coast. 2,000 feet there over the Mackenzie River Delta, but 8,000 feet over much of the interior here from the western Arctic coast all the way down into the Barren Islands. And roughly about 6,000 to 8,000 feet here, not much gradient at all, out over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. And for icing, could be some considerable moderate rime icing here, sliding up into the eastern Aleutians, below about 18,000 feet. Otherwise, nothing of any significance expected anywhere else. Could be some light to isolated moderate rime or mixed icing there for the southeast coast. And for the jet stream, that due to this upper level low that's kind of tracking on in there with the stronger jet here at 33,000 feet, about 105 knots, blowing mostly across Dixon Entrance. Higher pressure aloft up here over the eastern interior on up into the Arctic coast. Really storm-free over all of interior Alaska. Light winds out into the Bering Sea. Then we got some good northerlies here over the western Bering down into the Aleutians, 65 to 100 knots. 9,000 feet though, pretty light winds over just about all of the forecast area here. with the stronger winds coming in across the Queen Charlotte Islands at about 6,000 feet at this elevation, and some 40 knot southwest winds over the Chukchi Sea. And those drop back to about 30 knots, staying west of Point Hope and Cape Lisburne. Light winds, all of interior Alaska, the Gulf of Alaska, maybe 40 knot winds cutting across Dixon Entrance, but mostly missing the southeast coast. Light winds over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. With this light wind pattern, no significant turbulence expected anywhere around the state for Saturday.